Christine Walters, author of Guinea and Me, Reflections of What God Can Do. And I actually stayed home when I was moving to read her book. And it's amazing. It's my favorite book of the decade. And it's a true story. It's on abuse. How are you, Christine?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Your story is so amazing. I just can't.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you tell us a little bit in our audience about domestic violence and what do you do if you encounter domestic violence?
Yes. So I experienced a lot of domestic violence and growing up a child. When I was a child, with watching my father being very abusive with my mom. And she never would leave. She had a lot of excuses why she would stay. Even with her mental illness, I think she still could have left if she wanted to. There were means for her to leave. It did teach me as a child that I did not want to endure those type of things. However, I have endured some of it. And I just think that if you experience any type of domestic violence, verbally, sexually, physically, and emotionally, you do need to try to get some help, and you do need to try to find a way out, because it can cause death, it can cause a lot of emotional abuse, and you need to start doing counseling and start getting healing.
Oh, I completely agree. When I was in graduate school, I worked at the Elgin Crisis Center here in Illinois, which was sexual and physical abuse. It was a shelter. It's still in existence for women. And it's heartbreaking. And your honest story is so brave. It's so brave and so inspiring.
Well, I shared a part in the book, a very graphic part about my father cracked my mom's head open, and I experienced it, and I watched the whole thing while he mopped up the blood. And the reason why I put that in the book is so that readers could kind of get where I was coming from with the domestic violence part of it, just kind of having a view of trying to just visualize, I guess, if they could just imagine how that was, because there's a lot of women, men too, go through domestic violence, not just women. I think with men, it seems to be shied upon with society sometimes, because men aren't taught really to cry, or men aren't taught really to, go and get help for certain things like that when it's emotional abuse. So we're seeing it in society a lot where it's just women are abused more than men, but there are a lot of men that have been sexually abused as well. I know my father definitely was abused as a child. I don't know his full story. I never knew it, but I just know that he was abused because it's behavioral. Sometimes as people, we tend to, it's because of our own hurt. And that is something that I did not want to do with my kids, because it kind of triggers down the line like generational curse almost. If we don't get help and we don't try to deal with our own problems, become core issues, and then it's hard to communicate with our loved ones, hurting or someone for what they did to us, and we take it out on our loved ones in forms of verbal abuse. I have received a lot of emails and actually talked to a few people who have been sexually abused, who, because they've been sexually abused, tend to not still be sexually abusive with their kids, but they are not, they're just not doing a healthy relationship with their children. They're being more abusive with their children in ways of verbal and sometimes physical, and just from their own hurt and pain, because they don't want to really be honest about what happened in their own childhood.
Oh, I
I
agree.
shared some things in the book, but not all. I shared some things in the book, but not all. So just to talk about different topics when I do speaking. But on domestic violence, really, it's just my father was just very, very abusive. You know, I watched him on Christmas beat my mom with the Christmas tree. He knocked her tooth down her throat, and he would just be very quick with his anger. So it wasn't where you can expect to come. He would just be very mellow, soft-spoken, and then all of a sudden he just flips. And just because, he wants you to shut the window or you didn't turn the TV on the right channel or anything like that. So my mom, she would just make excuses for him. She had epilepsy, and so she would tell the police that she had a seizure, and that's how she hit her head or how she fell. And, I had to go along with it or I would beat. So I just told the cops what she told me to tell them.
And as a child, you don't know what else to do besides listen to your parents. And being abused,
Yes.
the typical behavior of someone who is abused, usually a female. As you said, males do.
Yes. My father,
But
yes. Yes.
make
And
it.
my father did. He has touched me twice, and when I tried to tell my mom, she really didn't do anything about it. She blamed me. She actually said I was trying to steal her husband. At one occasion, she got physical abuse. She just hit me and beat me really bad one day because I told her that he touched me, and she just turned around and just put the blame on me. When he passed away, there was a lot of forgiveness that I had to be with him, because when he died, I never got an answer from him. So he passed away never telling me he was sorry for what he did. And sometimes people don't tell you they're sorry when they hurt you. And in order to heal, you're going to have to forgive that person, even when it hurts or you want to hear words you want to hear and you never do.
And you are so strong and you have so much strength. It amazes me. Reading your book, talking to you about this interview, and you are able to forgive. So many people aren't. And in your adult life, you have forgiven. And that's the type of person you are. What gives you the strength to forgive?
God. I mean, I'm human, so it's not easy. And I just been through a lot in my life. We all have something that we're trying to overcome. And I don't think that it's ever easy to forgive anybody. There's certain people that hurt us in our lives, and it's easier to forgive them than others. Then there's people in our lives where, we have to forgive them, and we don't need to be in contact with them ever again. We need to, surround ourselves in a whole different environment because they just hurt us too much. So at those times, it's difficult, and it's a process. I had a lot of nightmares when I was growing up, even in my adulthood, and having my 4 kids. Just a lot of terror dreams and night sweats, and I had to deal with a lot of trying to cope and how to get over these thoughts of what's done. And it always seemed to be that when I was at my quietest moment, that is when the thoughts would just race about my past. And, I don't like my childhood. I would not want to go back to my childhood for anything in the world. I am so happy and thankful that I am an adult now. But that's through the grace of God, because I'm sorry?
I said, and you've raised 4 beautiful children. As a
Yes.
mother.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and it was, it wasn't easy. And I have 3 sons and a daughter, and there were times I just had to ask God to please, help me be able to hug my kids, because things that happened to me in my past, I didn't want to be touched. So if I would have went ahead and just never like try to do certain techniques to try to tell myself, you know what, these are my babies. I have to hug them. I have to tell them I love them and do those, do the things that were bothering me inside that only I knew about. And I would just do this next generation where my kids would grow up and they would not be able to communicate effectively, which, by the way, I have to say, they all have their own personalities. And we still talk sometimes with one or the other about effective ways to communicate with each other. I don't know if that's a sibling thing because I don't have any, it's just me, or if that's because they're still young adults. But, I tried to do the best that I could with them and show them love, and didn't want to carry over that abuse with them and even in any form of abuse.
So you can love again. You're a great mother, and you can forgive. And I'm proud to say you're my friend. And my husband,
thank you,
are gladly donating 100 bucks for you to give to people in the DC area who have been abused. You are such.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's our pleasure. You are such a powerful female, and you can help so many just with the book. They don't need to meet you. Your story is so powerful. I couldn't put it down.
Oh, thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
And like you said,
and I wanted to.
Go ahead.
I wanted to say a comment about forgive. Some things I think, for me, some things that I've been through were easier to forget, and there's some things that I don't that ever forget. It's just how I handle it. It's like renewing of the mind. Romans tells us how to renew the mind, and it is a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But I think if you're trying to heal and you want to do better, then as long as you're alive, you're able to do better for your kids, for yourself, for a relative, just for you. There's just certain steps and techniques that you have to take on to do for yourself. And renewing of the mind is very, very important because our thoughts control us, and we have good thoughts and bad thoughts. And, the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy and basically take you out. So when we go through things, especially people who hurt us, the devil has his way in. And so I could be driving to work, or like I said before, when I'm in my peaceful spot, here can come a bad thought. And I could think sometimes, why am I thinking about this? I'm having a great day. There's nothing warrant for me to think about this. And so I start to say to myself, you know what? Have good thoughts. I try to think of something like the beach because I love the sun, something of a good memory. And then after a while, I start noticing that bad thought starts trickling away, like that. So I don't think that sometimes it just goes away completely, but certain things have that pain has went away. That sting in my heart isn't there like it used to be with certain things. I'm dealing right now that I am trying to work on more with forgiving, because even as long as we're alive, and I think we're always growing spiritually, there's always going to be something going on where hurt and pain. Sometimes hurt people hurt people. So, we just have to know how to deal with that and get over it and get over some things, heal by leaning on God. Counseling, therapy is very good. A lot of people don't like to go to therapy, but therapy is very important. And just, exercising, healthy eating, just doing things that can basically give us a sense of peace and tranquility.
And again, you nailed it on the coffin when you said, I think of something positive when I'm having a trigger. That is very insightful. I mean, that is awesome advice to give to people, because everyone has their moments, but not everyone was abused, and
right,
that you live with forever. So I am very excited that Survivorship, the Facebook page, has asked you some questions, and I have
Yes.
a huge favor.
Yes.
Would you mind answering them? Because the community, a lot of people were excited about this interview because your book is it's fabulous. It
Oh, thank
brings
you.
up God, forgiveness, and you're honest, you're strong, you empower women. You are just a role model. And I'm very, very excited to donate the books. If you could please.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that the organizations the books go to are gonna.
You are an amazing gal. So if we could go through the questions on Facebook. Kara, my friend from Ohio, asked you a question. Can you answer it for her? Do you have it, or do you want me to read it to you?
If you could read it for me, please. I don't have it up.
And Christine, I didn't mention this. You worked full time when you wrote this book. Mother of four.
I worked and I went to school full time, and then I took some time off when my mother passed away. It was very difficult for me. And so I just started focusing more on the book, and actually I started reading the Bible again, and I got actually closer to God with my relationship with him after my mom passed away and struggling with a divorce I was going through. So I just took some time out that I needed, and I finished the book, and needed just a little bit of a break.
We all do. And
yes.
I mean, it sounds like you're doing great. You're just such a role model for females. You empower others. So Kara Barnett, my girlfriend in Ohio, wrote, "How does it still not affect you on a daily basis, or does it?" And you kind of answered that, but specifically.
Well, yes. So it doesn't. So when I was younger, I was molested on Easter Sunday, and that affected me a lot throughout my life. I'm so much better now than I used to be from that. It took me years to forgive the person who did that to me. So in that instance, with that situation, it took me a long time. Actually, when my mother passed away, that's when forgiveness became on that situation. But then there's times where people have hurt me, very close friends, and it was easier to forgive, and those things don't stay with me, and I actually forgot about what they did or didn't do. And I have to say, forgiving a lot of people, I do it myself too. We get upset with someone because of what they did to us or what they did not do that we wanted them to do. And sometimes we need to really look at ourselves about what we do to others just as well as what they do to us. Because sometimes we may not realize that we hurt someone and we did not intentionally mean to do that. That's why effective communication is good. When someone hurts you, it's not always confrontational to sit down and talk about it. Sometimes it does need to be talked about because someone did something to you that hurt you. And when it's out in the open, your thoughts again start racing. You could think the wrong thing, and you offended someone, or you're upset with someone, or someone's upset with you, that it could have just easily been talked out about. And it didn't need to go that far. So there are certain things, and there's certain situations in my life that I had to work with longer, and there are certain things that I've got over. My mother passing, I was angry with God. I had to forgive myself, not just someone else. Me and my mother actually forgave each other on her deathbed before she died. I'm working with something right now in my life that I say I forgave this person, but I'm human, and I notice sometimes that no, maybe I haven't. It's taken a little bit longer to work on that. So I'm still working on that situation. So it takes time. It's nothing that happens overnight, but you should forgive as soon as you can, because just experiencing death, a lot of my father's side has passed away. It's just really me left on my dad's side in a aunt through marriage. And then my mom's side, I became very close with my mom's sister. And one thing that death has taught me is, you know, life is unexpected. We could be gone in an hour or tomorrow, or don't wake up from our sleep, and we haven't forgave that person. You know, so, or things get left unsaid. So instead of being angry, it's better just to call that person up or send them an email. Sometimes it's hard to talk to people when you're angry with them, and it's better to send an email or write them a letter, because you can get it out with more what you want to say and not a certain tone. So, you know, time is short.
You're right. I agree. And you are a strong, again, role model, and you're brave. And for you to forgive what's happened in your life, family members, and you had such a rough childhood, and you're such a great mother. And you're aware of your surroundings and what you've been through and how to move forward. And that's why I know you empower so many women. So the next question is from Vanessa Ward. Thank you, Kara. And she asked, I'm sorry about this.
No, that's okay.
How long did it take for you to forgive everyone in your life? And you just answered it, but will you answer it again, please?
Yes. So there's one thing that has taken me a long time, and I'll just speak briefly on it. My mom dying was one of the worst things that ever happened to me in my life. And she was buried on Mother's Day weekend. And she died around, it was the Christmas holiday. There will never be a Mother's Day that I don't think of her. And the second hard thing for me was divorce. And there was a lot of infidelity there. And there would never be a Mother's Day again that does not cross my mind. But what I have to do is to know that when Mother's Day comes, that God blessed me with 4 children, and with the mom that he did, because we cannot choose our parents. And I was angry for a very long time at my mom when I realized that she actually was an awesome person and she did the best that she could. She was abused a lot, and she did not know how to love. She did the best she could. And so, I mean, she could have killed me. You know, I could have stayed in foster care longer. I could have, you know, there's so many could haves and would haves that could have happened. But she managed to do the best that she can. And so I have to give her credit for that, because her life was really, really, really bad. And one thing with doing the book is I honored the book. The book is in memory of her, and I'm working on trying to get it turned into a Lifetime movie. And it's already in the State of Virginia Library and in many other libraries. And I believe with all my heart and soul, and I just, God has shown me that it is going to happen. It's just in God's timing, because her story is a legacy. She was a child and she lived in the Buffalo State Insane Asylum. And I want to say, wow, like I think she started maybe 5 or 6 years old until she was 26 years old. So that's a long time. She was the only child that lived there. So she experienced a lot, and she was never supposed to get out, but she did. And, you know, I used to get mad and wonder why I'm here. But, you know, God showed me later on, I'm here because I don't look at myself as a hero. I don't look at myself as someone who can like help so many people. I just look at myself as that I really believe that God has put me all through that he has, so that I can be a blessing through God, not through me, but a blessing through God to help other people. In a way of through my testimony.
You are.
You know, So I just, I don't want to be like, I feel I got all the glory for it, because I've got to say, I mean, I'm human. Have I had suicidal thoughts? I have. I had. I mean, I wanted to kill myself when I was a kid. Um, I could have been strung out on drugs, but I wasn't. I started hanging around the wrong crowd, hanging out in the streets, and God really changed me and molded me in what He wanted me to do. So I try to tell my story to other people, because I don't want them to give up. And there's some people who might not believe in God. But sometimes I find out that the most trouble you have, and you try to look in every other direction to get help, there's no help, that maybe you could just give God a try. Because for me, I was little, and I remember being 3 and 4 years old, crying and just asking God to please, help me, because at that young age, I didn't want to be here, and I was being abused, and a lot of things going on with me at that young of an age, and God kept me, and so just prayer and just believing that, okay, God, I can make it. I got to make it. And then when I had children, I lived for them, so it's like, I want them to have a better life. We all want our kids to have a better life. They know my story. There's nothing that's hidden. They know it, even if it's embarrassing. They know it, because my philosophy is, if you tell your kids the truth, they can't get surprised by any secrets by anybody else, because that way I told my own secrets, and they can know exactly how my life was. And I don't want them to have to make the same mistakes. They're going to do what they're going to do, but at least they know, look, I struggled in a lot of areas. You don't have to. And I went back to school, not just for myself, but for them also. I want my children to know who I am, and who my mom was, their great-great-grandmother. And I want a change to happen when that. I want something to happen in this hospital that was abandoned for a lot of people who have mental health problems, because there's just a lot of wrong right with it. But health insurance doesn't cover everything. It gets overlooked. There's just a lot of issues with it. And I want to make a change in a lot of those areas. And I want to make a change in homelessness. And I hope down the road that there will be an organization called Reflections of What God Can Do. And I'm working on doing a conference in 4 different states. And I'm going to make it happen.
If anyone can, you can.
Thank you.
You can. Christine, how can the people who are watching this help? I think the biggest help, as I see it, is to purchase the books and donate them, because you beat the odds. When you are abused, you're usually an abuser. I learned that in graduate school. I worked at a crisis center, a shelter for females that was hidden in Elgin without an address. And I would get on the intake forms, when someone would come in, a lot of the females would say, I have thoughts of physical thoughts with my child. And it's a behavior that you broke, and you moved on to do positive things with your life, and you're just such a role model. So my question to you is, what can people do to help? Again, I said I see the books being donated to prisons and to shelters and to other places that will empower females to break that chain. Excuse me.
Yes. Yes. Well, a lot of ways, I think, donating the books is very important, because there's a lot of organizations, prisons, detention centers. If I can get the books into hands of younger generation, then maybe that, I do believe that will start the change, because a lot of people have issues with their parents, and they don't want to speak up. about abuse being damaging. They don't want to deal with the core issues, or they're ashamed of things that were happening. I mean, I was a young child and I was peeing on myself, and because I was sexually abused. And the question was kind of like, oh, why is this happening? And I'm kind of thinking, why doesn't anyone know why?
Right.
Sometimes I think as adults, we might not want to get involved, as society, when we should get involved, when we see it doesn't seem right. Even if it's going to make another person upset or anything, we need to get involved sometimes, or try to find some help for that person. There's a lot of women, is men too, but a lot of women are sitting behind bars on death row right now because they killed their husband, they killed their father, they killed their boyfriend because they were abusing them and they couldn't take anymore. And a lot of the state laws are not set up the right way for violence, and it's really sad. And again, a lot of abuse happens to men too, and they don't speak up, so it goes both ways. And so I just, I advocate a lot on speaking up, even if you feel that it's, you have these things that you feel you're ashamed about. That's why I shared in my book certain embarrassing things, because I want people to know that if I could share this, and it's embarrassing, who tells someone, hey, I was myself in school, and couldn't control it. Who says this? It's something that you really don't talk about. But if I could share that, then maybe someone else can share something very deep. And I hope with one of the conferences, with all of them, that, the conference isn't going to be for everybody. It's going to be for people who really are dealing with a lot of deep core issues, so that we can, do techniques and teach people how to get by and how to get over these things and how to heal. Some wounds don't heal. It's like a scab, it's just, or a scar. It's just there, sometimes the scab can tear, it just doesn't go away, or you look in the mirror and you see that scar and it's a reminder, so you have to know how to heal from these. So people can help in ways of, even donating money for give you an example, it is very expensive to do the conferences. I'm working on it. I'm trying to get sponsorships, and that is very important. My goal is to have 4 hours, maybe a workshop called Reflections of What God Can Do. It's very important to me that one is in Buffalo, New York. My mother is buried there, and the hospital is there. Lee County, Florida, she lived there. Washington, D.C. area, because I am here. And also California and L.A. Because a lot of viewers out there, I get a lot of people out in LA buy my book. Thank you so much, and I love the support from everybody who's been so supportive. But a good way to help is, doing some type of donations or sponsorships for the hotel, to cover the food, to cover the material that needs to be covered. I mean, it's like $9,000 to $10,000 just to cover one event, and so it's costly. And
a convention.
I don't want to make it to where, yes, and I want people to be able to come and be able to afford to come. So that's the big thing. So someone can, afford to come. So I'm working on it, and I believe in God's grace, He'll make it happen at His timing. So that's another way, people can help with sponsorship.
So how would they donate the money? And I just want to touch on one thing. Your embarrassment is seen as brave to so many people. You are so brave. You're such an honorable female. So I would like to encourage people to help you as much as possible. Do you have a foundation set up right now? How would it best suit you to spread the word and help others get through?
I have a website. Yes, I have a website with a lot of information that you can go on, called authorchristinemwalters.com. And I'm trying to set up a 503 right now. The organization definitely is going to be called Reflections of What God Can Do. Um, and in ways they can help also is like, contacting the hotel chain that I already know where the conference would be at, and making, if they just want to make a donation to there to cover that expense, or if it's a restaurant that wants to make an in-kind donation for the food that could be offered there. I'm really big on health and wellness, so it's type of food, because just for talk about a healthy mindset and just healthy living, because healthy living controls our stress a lot too. So there's many different ways that help, or books, or if it's just in books. Even though I'm the author, even for me to buy my own books, it costs a lot, and there's just so many places to donate the books to that will help so many individuals. The list can just go on and on and on, and you can't help everybody, but just trying to help a few people, or get across to some, is better than none.
The book is awesome, and
thank you.
Author House is the place to purchase it, correct?
Yeah.
That's where.
Yes, the publishing company. Yes, the publisher is authorhouse.com, and they can go right on there, and it's an ebook and soft cover, and as soon as you put the title, it comes right up.
Christine, I'm so proud to know you. You are an overcomer.
Thank you.
You just are so honest and open and brave, and you believe in God. I read that through your writings, and you're amazing. You are an amazing.
You're amazing. You actually are amazing too. So let me say that. You are overcomer yourself, and you have an awesome story. And one day we need to do an interview on both of our stories together, because you have an amazing story to tell. You can help a lot of people.
Oh, Christine, thank you so much. And again, please donate the funds. Contact Christine on author Christine Walter's website. And the books, I can see them being donated to the prisons, to the crisis centers, everywhere around DC, Buffalo, Lee County, Florida. And like Christine said, a lot of the emails are coming out of LA. Maybe people are more open about it. And
there's a lot of homelessness in LA. There's a lot of homelessness in LA with runaway. And that's the thing, there's a lot of shelters that are not big, that they might not have a website, but they're known about in small communities. And I travel to LA and back and forth to Fort Myers, Florida. And, I'm someone where I could see myself handing out books to runaways in LA, down by Skid Row, and just to the homeless, and, just to get a word across to them. They may find a church to go to. They may, decide to go into a shelter that night, and their whole lives can change.
And you have a message. You can turn out a certain way, or you can turn out like me. And here's my book, here's my message. And I would actually be honored to do an interview with you someday. Someone like you. You inspire me. So thanks again, Author House, author Christine Walters.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Enjoy your night. Bye-bye.